One night, a woman fell from a boat into the ocean. No one saw her fall. The waves were rough. Soon she grew tight. Then something bumped against her. A shark, she thought. Oh no. It was not a shark. It was a dolphin. Grintily, it pushed her towards the shore. Water, shallow water. At last, she cleared up. Claire.
First grade was much like kindergarten, with the coloring and playing with the toys and all that. And I remember sitting at the table in the classroom, that's the way the teacher had everything set up. And we can play with the toys and stuff, but you had to finish your homework assignment, usually the classroom assignment. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, well, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm looking at these words because at that particular time I didn't know how to read. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to know how to read in the first grade. I knew I didn't know how to read in the first grade. So by the time I got to second grade, I was just there, just looking at this book and all these words and supposed to know this stuff. Because I didn't pass. I failed. In fact, they held me back. Then the rest of it is pretty much a blur somewhat, but I kind of figured out that I wasn't going to get this, and this is as far as I was going to go. So what I did was learn how to be quiet, try to be as invisible as possible, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to draw any attention to yourself. And I was aware that the other kids was getting it. I wasn't. And so drawing is what I pretty much started doing to keep other than just feeling like part of the furniture, giving myself something to do while I was sitting there. I knew there was a problem, but it seemed like nobody around me seemed to respond to it. My mother was trying to be supportive of my circumstances because she knew something wasn't quite right. And I do remember her buying like paper and pencils and would sit me down and try to work with me and all this kind of stuff. But my father, his thing was he just blamed me. He said I was stupid and dumb and never amount to anything because he was in agreement with the teachers and stuff. So, he made he made it a lot worse than it should have been. Presently, I'm suffering from that. I'm paying a great cost because I'm shut out of everything because at 49, I have no formal education. Never been to high school, never been to college. My schooling stopped to me, in the second grade as far as I'm concerned. I think that's where it all stopped, to be perfectly honest. Because when I failed, somebody should have did something. When I was in grade school, I had always wanted to actually be a pilot because I love airplanes, then and now. But as time went on with my drawing, I started realizing I was more interested in designing aircraft more so than flying aircraft. Because now I'm to the point where I want to get into designing spacecraft. But unfortunately, due to my circumstances, that's just a dead dream right now. And I hate that. I really hate that.
School for me was not easy. It had various different levels of failure, had various different levels of success, especially my elementary days. I definitely had the teachers that saw me as lazy, wasn't trying. And then I had the teachers that, just viewed it as, oh, he'll get it someday. And in high school, I was definitely a C student. I mean, the only thing I got an A in was gym, and I was happy that that was my 1A. And but although I liked history, so I would do fairly well in history, but English and math, any of that stuff was big struggles for me. When I took my ACT for the first time to get into college, I think I scored a 13 on it, which wasn't great. But then somehow, through the resource in high school, I got to take the ACT again, and I scored a 19 on it. And that time it was read to me, and it was also non-timed. I still remember to this day sitting with my high school advisor as you're getting ready to start looking at colleges, and he said, you should stop thinking about college, start looking into trade schools, and that's probably the path that you're going to end up in life. And I walked out I walked out of that situation feeling, okay, you can accept that or you can change it. And the way you're going to change it is by not giving up, It's easy to throw in the towel and say, okay, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, this is your lot in life. But I knew I wasn't dumb. I knew I wasn't stupid. I had value. I had a lot to offer. I found myself. I was very social. I was very creative. I didn't have problems speaking in public. So, to me, that piece was the part that I was going to go for. So then when I went to college, I knew that I had to find a school that was not the big mega school. If I had the big mega school, I would have been lost. So I found a smaller school. I went to Bradley University. The classroom sizes were smaller. It was only about 4,000 students on campus. The classes were actually taught by the professors versus a TA. Average class size was 25 to 30 kids. So it was almost like going to high school, but you had more independence. I mean, I knew my professors, and I would go to my professors, and they would work with me. So that, to me, was huge. And again, I had to take the philosophy, and I joke about it today to my kids. I said, C's get degrees, because that's what I had to get. I had to get C's. I'd get B's every once in a while. But at the end of the day, I got a degree, and I'm happy for that.
We need to be very mindful of not making enemies of those we need to be part of changing American education. My sister is a school teacher in Wyoming. My sister-in-law is a special education school teacher in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Around the Thanksgiving dinner table, I get in trouble talking bad about teachers, nor do I want to. But if you remember the phrase Army strong, I think we need to come up with something called teacher strong. And if you're going to be teacher strong, you are going to have to endure that you are operating in a very big system that does not always provide you the rewards you deserve. You're going to have to find a way, as many teachers do, and I admire them for it, to provide your own rewards, to remind yourself you're there for the kids, and to take some risk. It's not easy, and it is not often rewarded by the system, but it is rewarded by what teachers care about most, and that is results with the kids. Now, I want to be clear. This means high standards for teachers. This means doing the things you need to do in a system to take those who are really not motivated by doing well and giving them something else to do. But for those who are doing well, find more and more ways of celebrating their success. None of this is easy. I don't want it to sound Pollyannish, and I'm not doing this just to have a good Thanksgiving dinner with my sister and sister-in-law.
We've got to start with the universities, because if the teachers coming out don't know any more than the teachers from 30 or 40 years ago, we're not fixing anything. We need the universities to start working in, their programs. They need to teach, especially special ed teachers or reading teachers. These teachers need to know what dyslexia is. I had a couple friends that went back to college, and they said they learned more about dyslexia from me than they learned in any of their classes. And one did go back with a special ed certificate. And she said, maybe we got 5 minutes about dyslexia, if that. And that's now. I mean, I might have expected that 20 years ago, but not now.
Dyslexia is a global issue. It affects up to 20% of the population. That's a lot of people. Every classroom has at least one student who struggles to some degree with reading, writing, and spelling. Parents are frustrated because they don't understand why, and teachers want to help these students but don't know how. One word, dyslexia, can change all that, but it requires knowledge, understanding, and support to move forward. Parents, it's really important to know that it's never too late to get help for your struggling child. No matter how old they are when they are diagnosed, you can get them help. They can become proficient readers, and they can get their self-esteem back. It's not a hopeless situation. But it does require work on your part. You will have to do research. You will have to educate yourself so that you can learn how best to support your child at home and advocate for him in school. Teachers, how many of you have students in your classroom who seem so smart, but yet they struggle so much? How often have you been banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out what you can do to help this child, believing there is an answer, but not knowing where to find that answer? Take it upon yourself to learn more about dyslexia. You can help give parents an answer, and you can be the reason a child with dyslexia will find the road to success, instead of the road of constant struggle. Schools. If your primary function is to educate all children, then you cannot keep turning a blind eye to something that affects 1 out of 5 of your student population. Dyslexia is real. And please understand that early dyslexia screening and intervention is smart. It makes sense. It saves time and money. And most importantly, it removes roadblocks that can keep our children with dyslexia from reaching their full potential. And finally, policymakers. You have the ability to pass laws that make it mandatory for all schools to screen every single student for dyslexia, and to also provide children with dyslexia with scientifically proven instruction. You also have the ability to pass laws that require every teacher training college to include at least one course on dyslexia, so that new teachers can be better prepared to meet the needs of all their students. With all of the dyslexia research that exists, there is no reason why a child who struggles with reading, writing, and spelling cannot get the help that they need to become successful students.